Hey everyone, so I wanted to take some time just to kind of talk about something that has been on my mind and something that's happened recently. Everybody's kind of talking about the 1 year anniversary for the Nintendo Switch, but one thing I haven't seen a whole lot of is the fact that it's also going on now the 5th year of the PlayStation Vita. I've gushed about the system before in past videos. As most people know, I am going for a full North American collection. And currently there are 248 games physically released for the PlayStation Vita, which is amazing. The only other system that I have that I've reached that many of is the little system sitting behind me right here. There are 248 Dreamcast games. I never in my wildest dreams actually thought the Vita would reach that as well. I started seriously collecting for the Vita probably in its second year, and that was about the time that I noticed that the system itself was being pulled from shelves. You were no longer able to really find them at Best Buy, Walmart, Target. They were all clearancing them out. The wonderful PlayStation Vita TV was being clearanced out for about $30 for the system itself, along with the controller, which I did manage to snag, thankfully. I was looking for a replacement for it, or an extra one just to have on hand. Unfortunately, even those are really difficult to get a hold of now, unless you go through eBay, and then you're spending about $50 to $60. Some GameStops may still have them used for about $30 if you can find it. Unfortunately, the stores around near me no longer carry them. Um, which is kind of disappointing. Although that you can still find the Vitas themselves from time to time. In fact, I was going to show this in a pickup video, but I'll show it now. I did pick up a white Vita with the OLED screen, which is originally only available for release with the Assassin's Creed bundle. I do have the Assassin's Creed game, which I picked up separately. Did not pick up the bundle because at that time I actually picked up a launch OLED Vita when it came out on February 22nd, uh, which I retired some time ago simply because of the proprietary port. I was worried about the cords breaking or losing the cords and not being able to find a suitable charger for it, which I replaced. This is my everyday Vita. This is what I bring to me. This comes to work with me every day, and on breaks I play it. Which I'll talk about the game I'm currently doing right now. I am trying to get through a lot of the backlogs on this. This has a 32 gigabyte memory card in it. My PlayStation TV I have, which is sitting over somewhere because it's currently connected because I was streaming from it. And I have a 16 gig in that one, which is actually really fun to stream from. I'm enjoying the fact that I can actually bring that out and I can play with friends who have their own Vita and everything, and we can kind of share games, and then I can do my end of stuff and be able to share that on Twitch. But moving on from there, I mean, I've got the fact that for that it's very easy for me. The battery life is longer. I enjoy the fact that it's lighter than the original OLED screen type variant. And the fact it comes with a micro charger, which are readily and easily available for very cheap. And I've lost cords. I've when I traveled a lot for my job, the Vita came with me. That was how I entertained myself in the hotel room. And I've lost cords in the hotel. I've lost cords on the job, um, which is kind of crazy. I actually dropped a USB cord at a factory I was working in. I was never able to retrieve it, unfortunately. And then, of course, the North American only got, aside from the white, we also got the blue one. This is still in the box, has not been opened, blue Vita that I managed to snag. It was the last one my GameStop had, and I was like, I need it. I don't know why. It is a beautiful color when you see it in person. This is kind of sitting as my backup in case this other black 2000 version never fails on me, or something happens to it, or I happen to break it or lose it or whatever on a job. At least I have this one that I can come back to. Of course, now you can't get those variants anymore. You have to import them from PlayAsia or some other source, or eBay, to find those. They do have a very pretty metallic red that I hope to someday maybe get my hands on if I can. Just right now, it's not within my budget, especially with trying to keep up with all the Vita games that are still coming out. As it is, there's 2 or 3 releases still coming from Axis Games. They got a couple visual novels coming out. And then Limited Run has announced already 2 games. Munch's World Odyssey, they got another RPG coming out later this month, which is just crazy in my mind that it's still going this long. It's going to surpass my Dreamcast collection to the point where already I'm struggling to find shelf space for my games. I've actually got, I'm not even going to show you right now, it's such a mess, but my desk is actually covered with a bunch of games that I have no room for on my shelves to put on, so it's like I either have to buy a new shelf or I gotta find somewhere to actually put these things. Um, but to highlight a couple of the games that I've been enjoying, currently I am playing, and I'm always horrible at pronouncing this, Uto Ware Rumano, which is the Mask of Truth. This is a sequel to Mask of Deception. This actually came out in September of last year, and of course 5 months later I'm just now getting to it. It's a visual novel crossed with strategy RPG elements. It is a heart-wrenching story, I will warn you that. This is put out by Atlas, and of course I'm always going to support Sega and Atlas. Really big fan of those of that publisher. It's very emotional. I love the fact that the strategy RPG is part of it. I like strategy games. Some of them I can get into, some of them I can't. This one I did get into. I got attached to some of the characters, and I wanted to see how the story progressed. The first one took me about 24 hours to really get through, and there wasn't a lot of grinding. This one, they really upped the strategy RPG stuff. I'm doing a lot more grinding in this one. I'm currently 36 or 38 hours into it, and it's still going. I don't know how long the game actually is. I haven't looked up to see how long it's taken other people to get through the game. But this is one, if you're into that strategy RPG stuff and you don't mind the visual novel aspect of it, check this one out. This is probably one of my favorite ones on the system so far I've played. And I say so far because I've had friends come through and look at my collection and go, dude, you have a ton of unopened games. What are you doing? And it's like, well, between work and everything, I am slowly working through other games. But, you know, the PlayStation Vita is my main handheld console that I play when I'm outside of home. You know, if I go on trips, I go on vacation or whatever, the Vita comes with me, and that's where I start to kind of crawl through some of that backlog I have. But I do feel bad. I'm not one who's big into sealed games or systems or anything. Usually I want to play them. That's the reason I buy games. That's why I have very few games on my other systems. Like my Switch is a very small collection. My PlayStation 4 has a decent sized collection, but I try not to go crazy, you know, unless I'm serious about collecting something like the Dreamcast and the Vita. So it's like I'm struggling with a lot of that. But I'm also a very big fighting game fan, and of course the PlayStation Vita itself has a lot of fighting games, which is fun to play on the go, although I do tend to prefer my fighting games to be on a larger screen and that I can play with other people, because that's how I get fun out of it, is more if I can have an opponent or a friend come over and say, hey, let's play a game of Street Fighter or play a game of Skullgirls or something. I enjoy that. The Vita, though, however, unless that person has a Vita, or you know, it's very difficult to play those games, you know, unless they have a good story. Recently, or finally, actually, I should say, Limited Runs came out with their Skullgirls. This actually just came in. This is another recent pickup. This is a pre-order about a year ago, or more now, and they finally released it. This comes with a nice little slipcover. It is individually numbered. This is number 3,322, and I don't recall exactly how many pre-orders they had for this game. But I am excited to give this a try. This will be one that'll be going into my PlayStation TV. Of course, I played the game on Steam. I've also played it on the Xbox when it was originally released way back when. But to have a physical copy of it, since it was mostly all digital, is something I enjoy. I do regret not getting the PlayStation 4 version, but I had to have my priorities set. It was either get the PlayStation 4 version or the Vita version, and with the collection, I had to get the Vita one. So, I'll give that a try soon enough. Of course, shmups are also another game I enjoy, or plane shooters. I'm horrible at first-person shooters, so games like Mercenaries, Killzone Mercenaries, as much as that game looks really good, I haven't really gotten into it, just because I'm horrible at that stuff. But these type of shooters, this is actually a Limited Runs version. I did import this from PlayAsia when it was originally released, not thinking that this would ever come over in North America. And for a while, it was exclusive to Japan. And it was this is almost an arcade perfect port. And the arcade originally had like 3 screens too. It's a monster thing. If you go to Galloping Ghost, they actually have one. And I do recommend that if you do get this game, either by importing it, I think now it's like going for $60 or $7. I got it for about 30 when I pre-ordered it from PlayAsia, so I got it cheap. And of course, the limited runs version was also up there. I think it too was about $40, which is expensive for a Vita game. But you got to play this one on your PlayStation TV. That way, it's on a larger screen, because the screen on the Vita, as well as it is, does not work well with this game. But it was still fun, and I put a lot of hours into this one. Another one of my favorite ones, visual novels is something that was new to me when I got the Vita. You know, first it's like, okay, you're kind of like reading a book, it's got some illustrations on it, but who's going to sit in front of a console and read? I really don't like it on a regular console. The Vita was fine, just because it's like, okay, I can go dull through it and keep hitting X, or if I actually do get into it, I'll read it, which this really caught my attention, and that's the Steins Gate. I want to say it's a trilogy, or not a trilogy, there's a sequel and the original. The original one is this one. And this is what got me hooked. It's probably my favorite visual novel I've read to date. It's really big into the sci-fi. It relates to a lot of real theories, like the string theory of alternate universes, alternate paths. You know, it kind of gets you thinking. And it really interested me. Just the whole time travel aspect. What really is time travel? You know, and it kind of goes through all that. Again, this is another heart-wrenching story. Especially Steins Gate Zero, the sequel to it, is kind of a what-if version of the protagonist if in the first game he failed his mission. If everything he did just completely didn't work, everything failed, everything he tried was a failure, and he pretty much gave up. And it's very, very heart-wrenching. It touched me in a lot. It was one of those stories I wanted to see what happened, and you know, there's multiple different endings in the first game that you can get, plus a true ending, which I did end up getting, going through and playing and getting all those different endings, and I actually platinumed the first game. But there is an anime of it. If you really don't want to sit through the game, the anime pretty much gives you the same story, minus some details on a couple things. But this is one I would recommend if you want to get into a visual novel and you're big into the sci-fi, time travel stuff. Definitely check out the Steins Gate series. Of course, rhythm games, I don't play too much, but I do enjoy them. This is probably my favorite, Hatsune Miku F2nd. This is one of those unusual ones for Vita that actually came with a mini manual and a little extra goodie. It's got a collector card in it for a card game I'll probably never play. But I enjoy the Miku series. I have it on the 3DS and all that stuff. I even double dipped and got this on the PlayStation 3, and I think the PlayStation 4 had a digital version too, which is kind of incorporates all the songs that are in the Vita version and the 3DS ones, as well as the past ones that came out on the PlayStation 3. But on the go stuff, this is fun to use for the touchscreen and everything. I find it more intuitive than the 3DS versions of Hatsune Miku games. It's probably one of my favorite ones. Just I like this one a lot better than X, which also came out on the Vita. There were actually 2 Hatsune Miku games, which a lot of people don't seem to talk about. But I liked it. So you're into rhythm games, try to find this one. I think it's fairly cheap, but I don't actually see it too much in the stores. Of course, fighting games, aside from Skullgirls, I also enjoyed a lot of time with Dead or Alive 5. I'm a big fan of the Dead or Alive series. It's kind of replaced Virtua Fighter for me, being that I enjoy those 3D games, fighting games from time to time, like Tekken and all that stuff. But this one I had a unique mode to it where you're kind of a first-person view and you're poking at your opponent to hit them, which is kind of funny. But I enjoyed unlocking all the different costumes and kind of playing through. It's the same story you can get on the console version, just with little extra goodies in it. Some people may be a fan of that, some may not. I don't know. But with all the different fighters like Blaze Blue, Arcana Hearts, and all that other, I probably spent more time on this game. And I may get a lot of flack for this next one. Of course, the Sandra Kagura series. There's 2 of them on the Vita, 2 of them on the 3DS, and of course with Peach Beach Splash, just now releasing on Steam and the PlayStation 4. I really get a kick out of this series. I enjoy watching how the girls have progressed when you were first introduced them into the Burst, which there is going to be a re-release of that game, a remaster of it, which I'm looking forward to. Just seeing the girls kind of grow up as the series progresses, they kind of mature more, they start understanding better each other, as especially with the two schools. There's the good shinobi, the bad shinobi, you got the neutral shinobis, and then the next generation of new shinobis they keep introducing in Peach Beach Splash. I've connected a lot with the characters, and just with everything that they've gone through, you get the background story of them all. People like some of the girls have been kind of through a rough childhood when they were younger, and they're trying to prove themselves, or they want to uphold the honor of their parents who are shinobi. I kind of find that good, that aside from it being a great beat 'em up, and once you get past the adult stuff of the clothes being torn off and the fact they're all well-endowed girls, it's a very competent fighter. And especially the cameos, like there was one in Ultra Burst or something on the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, where Homura made a cameo appearance. It was really nice to see. I really enjoy what Marvelous and Xseed have done with the series. I like where it's going. It is... the stories themselves I've really enjoyed. I really do recommend it as a really good beat 'em up on the Vita or even the PlayStation. I do need to stream more of Peach Beach Splash. I really got into that game as a third-person shooter, I guess. Water gun fight. It's kind of humorous, doesn't take itself seriously, and it is kind of fun. I wish more people were into it. It's really hard to find other people to play online. But as far as the Vita versions go, I've really enjoyed the stories, the characters I got into, and sure, some people may find it repetitive, but I kind of think of it like the Dynasty Warrior games or any other beat 'em ups where it's one versus a dozen characters. And of course, Valkyrie Drive by the same creator of the Senran Kagura series. I did find that one a little more repetitive than Senran Kagura, and I couldn't get attached to the characters as much. It did seem more refined than Senran Kagura as far as play mechanics go, but again, probably not my favorite beat 'em up. And the story was just very crazy. It was out there. The Senran Kagura story doesn't make much more sense, but again, I like to seeing the progress that the girls go through and how they mature as the games go on. And I hope to see more of that. But as far as that goes, I mean, those are my fond memories of the Vita in the last 5 years, and kind of collecting on that. And I'll continue to collect the games as they come out. Access Works seems to still be behind it, saying, hey, they still have a few more to come out. I'm kind of hoping Xseed has a few more, but it looks like they've kind of dropped off. NIS America, or NIS, however you want to say, have already looks like that they're done with the Vita. They're moving on to the Switch now. A lot more of the releases are PlayStation 4 or Switch. And again, I don't know what happened to the Xbox. Nobody seems to be releasing for it, but that's a whole nother topic. But let me know your thoughts. Do you guys still play your Vita? Do you have one? Do you have a favorite color? Are there any games that you really enjoy on the system? Let me know. You can always find me on Twitter. I'm willing to talk about it. Or here on Twitch. Or find me by some other means on Facebook or whatever. Anyway, that's my thoughts. I'm looking forward to this year. Might be the last year of the Vita. I'm kind of thinking it's slowing down. Everybody's moving towards the Switch. Which, happy birthday to the Switch. It's very successful. Maybe we'll see some of those games being ported over. And what happens with that? So, and who knows, there's rumors about Sony releasing a Vita 2, which, again, is another topic that I don't want to cover in this series. So, that's it for now, guys. As always, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you in the next video.